So far, everything I've talked about really applies to every programming language. In fact, it applies to lots of things beyond programming. Whether you're designing a house, designing a company, planning an event, all of those things benefit from doing things in a modular way and thinking about how to break the problem down into small pieces with clean interfaces. Now we're going to talk about some of the specifics of how to actually do this in Python. And in Python, we can divide a program into modules, which are really just separate files. In order for one file to be able to use another file, once we've divided our program into separate files, in order to use what's in one file in another file, we need to import it. We can do this using the syntax import followed by the module name. So if we're in the file a.py and we want to use something from b.py, we would just do import b. Python will look for a file named b.py. That's the simplest case, and it will find it in the current directory. If it doesn't find that file there are other ways it will look for a module. And it will look on a path of directories to find it, but the ones that you create yourself will probably be in the same directory as the file that you're working on, until your programs get really complicated, and then you'll organize those into directories as well. We've used import before, and you've seen the import URL lib in some of the code that we used in the search engine. This was used to be able to use a function to get a page from the web. We didn't define this ourselves, and if you look in the directory, there's no URL lib.py file. This is a module provided by the Python library. Since we didn't define this ourselves, Python will search for this on the path until it finds it. We can see what that path is by doing import sys to import the sys module, and then looking at the value of path defined in the sys module. And we see this long path. Your results will vary depending on how you installed Python and what platform you're working on. The specifics that you see here will depend on your Python installation. You should see the first entry is the current path. There's an empty directory here, meaning it's always going to look in the current directory first, but then it's going to look in a bunch of different library directories to try to find the package you're looking for. The other thing I want to point out here is the syntax I used here. This is the way to obtain a definition from a module. So we imported the sys module. To access the definition from that module, we need to use the module followed by a dot, and then we can access the definitions in that module. What this means is that modules avoid namespace pollution. If we didn't have to use the module to reference definitions in the imported files, well then every time we imported a file, we'd have to worry about, does it use any names that we use, and are we going to lose our own definitions and have pollution that way? The way Python avoids that is by, when you import a module, all the names defined in that file are only visible inside the module, followed by the module dot the name. This means if you had your own path variable, and then you import sys, the value of path hasn't changed.